We're ready to rock, I think. Welcome, everyone, to Tea with Fran. Fran, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
And Justin?
Doing good. I got the Mickeys.
Yeah, it is.
Got ultras. It's a Friday.
It's Friday, so
good.
we do have some iced tea, but we got some adult beverages here. I got my hair down, so it is definitely.
First off, these aren't adult beverages. Kids can drink these. You know what I mean? They could go into their parents' fridge and take them. Unfortunately, it's called beer. It's up for anybody.
It's designed for
Yes.
Adults. Well, it's funny that you mentioned kids drinking alcohol because in other countries.
Yes.
It's quite common. And
absolutely.
Today's theme is we're going to talk about traveling.
That's right. We are.
So I just want to cover a few things because we got a lot of, even though that other episode only came out a few days ago, there's been a lot of feedback, Fran.
Oh,
so
all
I just
right.
want to want to run through some notes here.
Yes, I'd like to hear it.
Her voice just soothes my soul.
Oh, I love it.
That was about you, not you, Justin.
Yeah.
The friend of mine who put in the Fran mail that led to that very touching story, he said he's very happy that it actually went the way it did because he feels like heavy topics like that need to be discussed.
Yes.
And it definitely was. And he also says you sound like an angel.
Oh, thank you.
And I just wanted to mention that multiple people reached out to me to say that, they were crying,
Oh.
listening to that.
Me too.
They could hear it in your voice. They could feel the energy of that. So
Yeah.
really authentic, feedback on that. And even, I don't even know how to describe it. Surprising, maybe not even surprising, was the people that told me that they've been in similar situations as you.
Really?
At least 3 or 4 people told me that they have been not some are teachers, but just in that capacity where someone is
Yes.
telling you that they want to take that drastic step and,
Yeah.
people having to be there. So they
Yeah.
really, it's heavy. And that's why, the person who wrote in the Fran mail was like, it needs to be discussed. And sure enough,
Yeah.
a lot of people have gone through that. So
Good. I hope it helped someone.
yeah, I hope so. We got to support one another, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then, one more little bit of feedback was I was told that you have great wisdom
Oh.
and that you're making this individual think about bigger questions, bigger topics. People,
Good. Good.
And this is, kind of what you and I discussed when we were thinking of the show, was to get people thinking about the conversations that we have that kind of mind expanding. So I don't know if you heard anything or if you wanted to.
No one says anything nice about me. No one writes to me. I feel left out right now. But no, I love it. I mean, I'm happy people are writing in and actually giving legitimate feedback and are fans of the show and fans of Fran. That's why we're doing this.
All the Fran fans.
Oh.
Justin, people are complimenting your new audio skills that you've learned in the past month.
Yeah, I guess I would put it as like a C-. I want to get to like a B+.
Oh, I think it's
and I think
wonderful.
that with you holding the microphone, hoping this time.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay. I've got it.
Because once I had it figured out, you're like, all right, we got it. I'm going to sit a mile away from the microphone. And then I was cranking up the gain. But I think we're good. I don't really care. I mean, for the most part, it sounds good.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better in time.
Okay.
So
All right.
Wonderful.
I'm just here to chat. That's it.
We know.
Right,
We
right.
know. All right. Well, today's topic of travel was actually queued up as a Fran mail submission.
Oh, good.
Someone wanted to know, how much you've traveled outside the country because they felt you have such a worldly view. So, I don't know, kind of universal, if you will. And I was like, you know what? That is such a good question. I don't want you to just answer and just be like, yeah, I've traveled around, and then that be the end of it. So you've traveled extensively. Justin has traveled quite a bit. I've done a little bit myself.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, just a little bit. I got my Sedona t-shirt on.
Yes, one of my favorite places. Yes.
So they started off asking about your world experience. So I would like to start there.
Okay.
Where outside the country have you been? We'll start with continents. If you want to go countries.
Well, I wish we had started sooner. Shall we start there? Dan and I were always so busy working, and as a teacher, I had summer, but a lot of summer was getting ready for the coming year because that's the kind of job that we had to do every year. So when we did start, it was after I left school. And I was just helping Dan with fabric, so we had to figure it out depending upon the seasons and how we could be gone. And we had some friends that we had met along the way that were customers who told us that we really should try a cruise. And of course, I immediately thought, well, that will be like a Disney cruise with a lot of kids and that sort of thing.
No,
But
thank you.
no, that's not what they said. Oh, no. They said, let's go on the Grand Princess on the maiden voyage. And so that's where we started.
That sounds enchanting.
And
Yeah, I don't even. I mean, it sounds like a Disney cruise.
It was,
but it was not.
It was the largest cruise ship ever built. And
Was it bigger than the Titanic?
It was.
It was.
It was.
And it stayed afloat. Which
But
is,
you know, but
good.
what was interesting is that movie came out the very year we were going to sail on the Grand Princess.
Oh, man.
Yes. Well, we did. And in order to do this ship, in order to have a place for us, we had to fly over to Europe and then see the things we wanted to see in Europe and then get on the ship to sail back across the Atlantic.
Whoa.
And on the way back, remember, this is the maiden voyage, and it was absolutely wonderful. They did train us as to what to do in case we had an emergency. And so one morning...
They do it on
I know,
airplanes.
it's
yes.
ridiculous. I'm going to get into that after.
One morning, about 10 o'clock, after we had had breakfast, all the bells went off all over the ship. And everybody had to report to their area, and they had to get on their safety stuff. And we were all lined up. We found out there was a fire aboard ship.
Oh, wow.
And we were in the middle of the Atlantic. It was quite exciting. We wondered if we were going to have to actually get in those little boats. They were getting ready to let them down. And all of a sudden, everything quieted down, and they had put the fire out.
Good.
And it was in the kitchen. So everybody just...
Rookie chef.
Yes, you're rookie chef. So the rest of the trip was very uneventful, except as we were approaching Newfoundland, we had a storm appear, a really bad storm. Well, we had a lot of people on ship that were getting sick, but I found out something about me I never knew. I loved the storm. We were rocking back and forth, and they emptied all the water out of the swimming pools and everything. And you could see the big waves coming from one side, and then they would be on the other side. And I absolutely loved it. I could have.
I'm with you on that. I agree. Like when
Yeah.
I get turbulence on an airplane, I'm like, yes. Like other people like hanging on. I'm like, I would pay extra to go on a bumpier ride.
I had no idea. I could have had a life on the sea. I loved being away from land. I loved the flying fish and the dolphins and the life out there where there's no land at all. I was very, very happy. Mm-hmm. Of course, when the storm hit, and we still were heading for Newfoundland, and we did stop at a wonderful place called St. John's. And to our surprise, the people in St. John's, it's a very small little town, they were all along the sides waving to us before we ever docked. And they were there, and they had their dogs with them and their kids with them so they could see the big ship. Everyone wanted to see the Grand Princess. And we had a lovely day there, and they wanted to know what our lives were like. Like, what do you do in the evenings? What do you do? What kind of work do you do? Because they don't get to see people like that, you know? But we had a wonderful time. In fact, we enjoyed it so much that one summer, Dan and I went back to St. John's.
Wow.
And we really did love it. And I invite you all to go. I hope you will.
So you're taking us to St. John is what I'm
The
hearing. I'm
podcast,
just making sure.
The podcast is going abroad.
Yeah. We could film an episode on a cruise ship. That'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be cool.
That'd be great. Well, then I've also, you know what's cool too, is when you sail into the harbor in New York and all the little boats are out and they're shooting water up. We had this great welcome. You know, the Grand Princess was coming in and flash bulbs going off, and you sailed by the Statue of Liberty, and you say, oh, I am so thankful that I'm an American. I love this country. It's beautiful.
The best.
The best.
Wow. Yeah. So was going to Europe, was that your first time?
That was my first time.
And was that your first time leaving the country? Because I know you had mentioned that you had gone
to Canada.
All right. What about, when was China?
Oh,
was that
as
when
a teacher.
You were still a teacher?
A teacher, yeah. That was in like 1990.
Okay.
Now, China has really changed a lot since 1990. When I went with a group of teachers, there were like 9 of us. And the way that came about is because I was a guest speaker down in Trenton. We had a teachers' conference down there. And I was telling them about what we did with the gifted students in our school system. And somehow or other, it was published where China could read about what we did. And so they invited me to be a speaker in Beijing.
Whoa.
And that was very exciting. I'd never had anything where somebody had to interpret what I was saying.
I was just going to say, you probably had an interpreter down right in front of you.
Then I had to wait.
Interesting.
You say something and then you wait.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a very different experience. But I can tell you that China was such a surprise because it seemed that I knew a lot about Japan, but I knew very little about the real China. It was sort of hidden from all of us. And it wasn't at all like I expected it to be. It was so clean and so beautiful everywhere. They really appreciate beauty. Even their streets, when they have like little pebbles, they make pictures so that as you're walking along on sidewalks or crossing the street, you see butterflies and birds and a tree, just beautiful things. And another thing that I loved is that everywhere, the flowers, everywhere beautiful flowers, and they are put in small pots. So the minute that the flower starts to fade, they bring in another flower in a new pot and put it in that position. But when they're all together, you never see the pots. You just see the beautiful flowers.
Yeah.
But they also have a lot of large posters and a lot of beautiful artwork everywhere. And they are all about peace. Children of all kinds of children holding hands. Everything is lovely. This was amazing to me. And also their television is so different. You know, there are no commercials. There are.
That sounds like a dream. That sounds nice.
There are people sitting behind a desk talking, but of course they're speaking in Chinese. So that wasn't so.
What part of China were you? Were you like
flew it? We did go there.
Okay.
But we flew into Beijing because that's where we had to speak. All right, and then they took us from there to Nanjing, which is a small little town, but a wonderful place. And we stayed there about 3 days. And one of the things I loved about being there is in the evening, people are all sitting just outside their little houses, and they're playing chess and checkers, and they are so delighted to see an American. They bring their children. One lady woke her baby up to see an American. And the little children came up to me and said, "Thank you, Grandma. You are a sweet grandma. Thank you." And they speak British English. That's what they learn in school.
So they have like a British accent?
Uh-huh.
You got Chinese people.
You have a British
native.
Because
that's interesting.
Well, that's how they're taught. They have tapes and I guess TVs from Great Britain. So that's how they learn English.
Was it colonized by the British?
Oh, no. Listen, China has been sort of a closed society for a long time. I got to walk on the Great Wall of China. Oh, my goodness.
I know a lot of people in Hong Kong.
Oh,
and
yes.
They're all Indian.
Oh, they're Indian.
They're all the owners of factories, and so they're sourcing agents and everything. But I know a lot of people in Hong Kong, and every one of them is Indian.
Well, I loved the time when I got to see the way that real Chinese people were, and how they are in the schools. The best buildings in every town were the schools. They were beautiful. And then they in each town there was a building called the Children's Palace. And children get to go there on the weekends until they're 18. And they can learn anything they want. They have the very best teachers of music and art and dance. And everybody does Tai Chi early in the morning. That was really cool. We would get up and walk down to the river, and they had all the townspeople out doing Tai Chi. So I had a little bit of Tai Chi. So I tried, and they would come over and fix me so that I was turned exactly right. So I was doing it.
So they had like a chiropractor kind of adjusting you.
They would adjust me.
Nice.
But they were so sweet, and they always, do the little bow thing. I really wondered about that. So I asked about, why is everybody doing this, And they explained to me that they are addressing your eternal self, the real you. And so that is a kind of gesture that is, I mean, that's their culture.
I like that.
I did too.
Yeah.
I do.
I just want you're making it so obvious the importance of traveling because you have to see for yourself.
Yes.
You talked about
Yes.
how surprised you were when you got
Was.
over there.
Yes.
Can you just expand on that a little bit and the importance of going and seeing for yourself, these other cultures?
Well, yes, because as a teacher, I love teaching social studies. I really did. And I always have looked at the Earth as my spaceship. We're flying through space, we're turning, we're moving around the sun, and our whole galaxy is moving. And this whole idea of being one has always been in my heart, so that the human family is our family. And I don't know everybody. And when you look at it in a textbook and you look at the children there, you really want to know what their lives are like. And I would check out books and I would look at pictures of the children, the yaks and the children milking and all these things. And I'd think, I just wish I could talk to that child. I'd like to know. But I never had enough time, and Dan and I started too late to see all the things we wanted to see. But most of our places we visited were all above the equator. We didn't go below. We were still looking at history.
Yeah.
And Estonia, which is just everything is so old. And I'd never been in a place so old in my life. And people still live in all these wonderful stone houses. And all the streets are all made out of stone. Everything is rock, like solid rock. And yet, they have flower boxes with beautiful flowers. They're dear and sweet people. They have music concerts, and they're out at little cafes, and they're drinking their own beer. It's so much fun to try different food and different beer and their wines. And
Speaking of beer.
and speaking of beer, there goes one. But, yeah.
You got to think there's some type of correlation between how nice the people of a country are and how many flowers they have in their public spaces, right? Like the more flowers, the nicer they are. Like that just
Yes.
makes sense, right?
Well, there's something about flowers and music that just calms the spirit. And you just feel at home when you have those two things.
Yeah.
And music is really the universal language. That is the key to bringing, I think, the whole world together. I think it's music.
Along with this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And like back to like what Kevin was saying, like if they have flowers, like they're present right when you go, or like beautiful architecture, like the United States. You come to New Jersey, right? Someone not from here, you put them in a random town, they're gonna be like, this place is a dump. There's certain places that like we just lack the culture. So when you go somewhere that's true to their origin, true to their culture, I mean, it's kind of eye opening.
It is. But let's go back to New Jersey, because New Jersey is full of wonderful places.
The Garden
It is.
State.
I love
the Garden
believe me,
State.
I know I called it a dump.
Yeah.
There's certain areas 100% that are dump. I'm going to say Newark. I don't
Right.
like Newark. I've had bad times in Newark.
Right.
But
it's
it's beautiful. You
It's
can go to the beach. You can go hiking.
Yeah,
You can
right.
do I don't know. Like I truly love New Jersey. Like I love anything like coastal too. Like California, I
Right.
do love. There's certain things I don't love about California, but I mean the
Right.
beauty of the land. I'll
Yes.
take it all day.
And if you live in New Jersey, and just one day, look, you can go to the beach and come home. So you have an entirely different. You can go hiking on the Appalachian Trail. You can drive to Broadway and see a play and come back. There are all these things. They're just
Travel the world. See New Jersey.
See New Jersey. Yeah.
that-
Do everything in New Jersey.
Well, we're sort of the center. We're really the crossroads of history.
Yeah, you could have Chinese food, Italian food,
Everything.
and any sort of food in between,
Everything.
all in one day.
Everything.
Wouldn't recommend it, and that's why I don't like buffets. The thought of a buffet freaks me out.
I know.
Right, you go to a buffet. I've seen people make the worst decisions of their life. They get sushi. they get an omelet. They go get ice cream, and then you go home. And I'm happy I don't go home with that.
Go
person.
home. I feel like, I've never been on a cruise ship. Are buffets common on cruise ships?
Well, they do that, but that's not where you usually eat. You have a beautiful dining room. In
Okay.
fact, they have what they call their little restaurants, all kinds of restaurants. So you can eat your breakfast in the beautiful restaurant.
How are the casinos on the cruise ships?
Well, that's on the other side of the ship. And I have to tell you, I don't walk on that side.
Okay.
I always walk the other
I was
side.
gonna say if there was hot tables, I would.
There are
I'm
hot.
gonna go
There are hot tables. There are hot tables.
Hot tables everywhere you go.
Yeah, there are. But I think travel just lifts your spirits. You go and you see something really different, and it sparks thoughts in your head, and you think, "Gee, you know what? I'm going to try that when we get back home." And you come back and you try either new recipes, or you change something about the way you put curtains on a certain window or not, or it just colors are different where you go. But it's so neat to meet the rest of the human family. That's what we've got to start to think about. Mm-hmm. They're there. And some of them come over here. And I'm always surprised. Like when I go to the grocery store and I see people that are coming in, they're coming in to ski here. And they will be clunking around in there. You hear their boots. And they're speaking another language. And I don't see anybody saying, well, welcome to Vernon. Come up and talk to them. I don't know if they're just afraid because they think they can't speak the language. They speak English. That's why they're skiing here, But we should really think about welcoming them, because wherever we went, and I went through my desk atlas, and I counted 23 countries that Dan and I visited, and everywhere we went, we were welcomed. Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful. And we weren't wearing American flags, but you remember how Dan looked with his wild and crazy pants?
Yeah.
They knew we had to be from America.
I remember I saw a picture of Dan recently, and he has the wild pants on, but then he's got the big bucket cap on and a camera. He just was screaming tourist. Yeah. And he's not someone you miss. Like if you're out in public somewhere, you're gonna recognize him and know he's probably a tourist. Justin, you've done a little bit of traveling. Any lessons you've learned from traveling? Any experiences?
Oh boy. I mean, I've most of my travel. I mean, I've done some traveling for like vacation. A lot of it's been for work. So I go to Chicago often. I go to Vegas too much. Go to Miami, California, mainly like city areas. What do I learn traveling?
Yeah. And
I learned how to travel smart. I definitely I'm very efficient when it comes to packing. I'm very efficient when it comes to the airport. Mm. What drives me crazy is I don't care what boarding group I am. I'm boarding last. I have to walk around because I'm gonna get on a plane and sit for 5 hours straight. Yep. Why do I want to be the first one on the plane to go sit down and then be surrounded by people? I can't do it. So I go to the lady. I'm like, what time is the gate closing? She's like, 9:45. I'm like, I'll see you at 9:44. And then I go walk around the airport. I have everything timed. I get there. It's smooth. I walk in there. No line. Good. I just travel with just one bag. Or if I check a bag, then, I don't care. But I'm trying to think like international travel too. I mean, I got a good story. It's embarrassing, but it was one. I went to Italy when I was 16 with my family. We went, tourist things, right? You go to the Vatican, and we came to the day we were going to go see the Colosseum. And I was pumped. I'm like, I loved gladiators. Love Russell Crowe. Love the movie Gladiator.
Me
I
too.
think that's what kind of set me in. I'm like, yeah, I want to be a gladiator. I would have lived like one round, and then I think I would have died the second round. But I would have made it. I would have been a gladiator. But so we're on our way to the Colosseum, and we're in like it's like a Subway in Italy, not the Subway sandwich place, an actual Subway with the train, whatever you want to call it. So out of nowhere, I'm on the Subway, and my stomach just like boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, oh boy. And we were out there for a few days, so I'm eating, I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm looking at my family. I'm like, yo, guys, we got to find a bathroom like tomorrow.
And how old are you at the time?
16.
Yeah. And you said you had been drinking?
Yeah. Well, I was drinking wine. I mean, we were drinking wine over there.
Like we said, it's not just adult beverages. All right.
But I blame it on the pizza. I had a pizza, and I wasn't thrilled with the pizza. I love a New York style slice. Mm-hmm. That's going to beat any pizza in the world. And I'm gonna take New York and New Jersey pizza over pizza in Italy.
People are screaming in their cars at you right now.
Yeah. Who cares? Yeah. So we finally I get off this train, and we're looking for a bathroom, and nothing's in English. And there's these almost, they look like elevators, and you have to insert money into them,
to
right?
get in
So
and-
I have change. My mom has change. She's trying to figure out how to use this thing. I'm trying to figure out. She gets one open, and she's like, all right, she's like, come in here. And so I'm walking over, and she like stepped in, and I walk in, and the door closed, slammed shut behind us. And I look over, there's a toilet in the middle of the room, and my mom in the bathroom with me. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I tell my mom, I'm like, turn around, I'm like, face the wall, and I shit my brains out. It was the most after that, I'm like, just take me back to the hotel. I don't want to ever be here again. I'm like, I just want to take the first flight home. It was terrible. And I went back to the hotel, and I was just sick for like a day. And then I was fine, but it was, of course, a day. We're going to go see the Coliseum, and instead I get stuck in some random restroom, and my mom was trying to get out. She couldn't. It was like there was no, like, it was like, I think it had like a certain time limit on it, and you could insert more money for time. I'm like, you have to be kidding. Like, you got to be kidding me. My poor mother.
Well, to everyone who's listening, there are certain rules about traveling abroad. And one of them is you only eat cooked food. You do not eat anything raw.
That's
I
good
was
to
eating
know.
sushi in Italy.
Yeah. And remember also to only drink bottled water.
Yeah.
And when you're in the shower, do not get any water from the shower in your mouth. Don't do it. Brush your teeth with bottled water.
I'm going to go buy a bubble, and I'm going to go live in a bubble.
You'd be a good bubble boy.
No, I would. Oh my God, no, I'd go crazy.
No, you'd be good.
But if you do these things, you won't get sick. And I never got sick with all the traveling we did.
Good.
Yes.
I just wear like a body condom when I travel. Like, just kind of like go into it.
But, I really think that people ought to see America. See all of America if you can. There's so many places that are just beautiful. You don't need a passport. You can camp. You can go to all the national forests. They're beautiful. Anything you would want to see is here, really. The only thing that I guess, if you're really interested in history, if you want to see something really old, then you have to go to Europe, because that's where you find the very old things. I didn't even know what old was until I got there. Instead of, I think something 200 years old in America is pretty old, an old house. Not over there. 2,000 years old. That's old, right?
And I know we're going to get into it because Kevin, he's worked at national parks, state parks.
Yes.
And like my travel has always been, I feel like mainly in cities. So like if I go to Vegas, I know spots to go. If I go to Chicago, I have, places to go. Yeah. But as far as like, I remember Kevin and I drove cross country. We drove out to Utah, and we had a buddy down in Nashville. We stopped there. He had a houseboat, which was awesome. And I say houseboat, it was a floating trailer park. Yep. And it was a lot of fun. It was right on the outskirts of, the city.
Right.
But that trip was, for me, it was like, oh wow, there's so much more than just, buildings and people. It's just, It was just like, all right, like the land, like the U.S. is beautiful. Like the landscape is stunning.
Well, and I understand. I found out today from someone that there is an app that you can get that tells you all the interesting things to see wherever you're going.
Google?
No, it's not good. No, it isn't Google. No, but it's a real app it talks about interesting places. And so you can check it out wherever you're going and where to stop, how far away it is, and how much it costs. But I would wish everyone to just see how beautiful America is.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know I've been over the country a couple times, seen a couple things, and
yes,
my first road trip was 18 years old. I turned 18 the end of May, graduated high school the end of June, and I took off the end of July for a whole month, and just a life-changing experience.
Yes,
and it was. I'd never been, pretty much further west than like the Delaware River.
Okay.
So within 2 hours, I'm further west than I've ever been in my entire life. And I remember camping in Ohio that first night.
Yeah.
I was like, I could drive home tomorrow, and that'd be okay. But I can't believe I'm going to go all the way, and made it all the way to California. And it was mostly amazing. There was one or two bad nights. That's going to happen.
Dude,
but
you gotta talk about one of the bad nights. That dog story in that park was...
Yeah. Justin has been making me tell this story for the past 11 years.
Oh, I have to hear it.
It's
I don't
terrible.
know it.
It's because you know what? I'm happy it didn't happen. I didn't have to live it. That's what makes it great. And like Kevin makes it a point, like I want success for everybody, but you want to have the bumpiest possible road. So this was a pretty big bump, or a pretty shitty time.
So yeah, you had your experience there in Italy. So out west, left Yellowstone, going through, what is it, Idaho.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Partied with some locals in Idaho. You know, I'm 18. My buddy I'm with, he's 21, and hung out with them, and we hadn't showered in like days. And the next day we're like, all right, we gotta, like, let's get to the coast. So get through the rest of Idaho. We're in Oregon, and Eastern Oregon is not a pretty place.
No, I know.
It's like high plains, scrub brush or whatever. Like it's just not pretty. I remember passing through a town called Christmas Valley, and it sounds magical, right? Christmas Valley, oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. It was so sad. You go inside like the one convenience store, and all the local kids have their pictures of all the different military branches they've joined, because there's
Yeah.
one guy
It's a
that
town of like 50 people.
yeah, Oregon was the only state at that time besides New Jersey where you didn't have to pump your own gas. So I guess that was like a coveted job to be a gas attendant, because I don't know what else was out there. But it was a long day of travel, and we get to what we thought was a campground, but it was a trailer park
Oh.
that had a patch of grass that you could camp on. So it's in a town called Klamath Falls. You can, look it up. It's not far from the coast. And we set up shop, and right away, all the residents are looking at us.
Oh.
And so it's like,
They're like, look at this guy. He's got all his teeth.
yeah, it wasn't very welcoming.
Oh.
And if you ever drive across this country and people see New Jersey plates, they're going to have opinions. That's a whole other thing. But there was a guy there kind of appearing, disappearing. Something was wrong with him, and it was kind of unsettling. So finally, it's been 5 days. Finally, I can take a shower and go in the shower. There's dead bugs in there. It's grimy. Like, you got to shower with like sandals on. Like, it was just foul. We're writing postcards back home because we got some time to journal and write home. And that guy appears, and he goes, I'm not going to do the voice because I don't want to have that recorded, but he's like, are you guys playing games? And we're like, no, we're just journaling. Out the back window of this little rec center that had the showers, and I guess I think it also had laundry, there's a dog pacing back and forth. And every 10 seconds, it would stop, like it had to go to the bathroom, and it would shake violently.
Oh.
And then it would start pacing again.
Wow.
It was so unsettling. Like, I don't know if you ever heard or seen the movie The Hills Have Eyes.
No.
It's very much that. If anyone's listening at wherever
Terrible.
you are,
Don't even watch the movie. It's god awful.
it's people that were like mutated by nuclear
waste.
Yeah.
Like a wasteland. Yeah.
All right. So the best part of the story that Justin loves. So pass out early because, like, all right, let's go to sleep early. Let's wake up early and get on the road. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I hear a dog just howling in the worst pain of its life.
Oh.
And I'm just like, what is happening here? Is someone doing something to this dog? Like, and the guy I'm with, he didn't wake up. The next morning, it's like, all right, let's get out of here. He's not even done brushing his teeth. I got the tent down, packed up in the car. I was like, we need
Get
to
the hell out of Dodge.
leave.
We're leaving.
Dumb.
Yeah. The only thing worse than that, we could save this for another travel episode, was meeting neo-Nazis down in
Oh.
Texas.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
another fantastic story.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So I was like, yeah, travel the country. Oh, there's
Yeah.
people with meth issues in
Well,
Oregon.
no, it's good. You can travel the country, but you just have to cross out where you don't go on a map. You need to develop your next book is just where not to go, and just write stories about the U.S. Just avoid this place.
But yeah, there's so many wonderful places, and it's amazing the people you can meet. I joke about being in Idaho. We're standing outside the car, like stretching our legs, and these two women show up, and they're in their 30s or whatever, and they just go, where are you guys from? And there's kind of a little bit of banter, and they're like, you guys want to go on a booze cruise? Mind you, I'm 18. Guy I'm with is 21. And we just kind of look at each other and shrug our shoulders. We're like, all right, sure. And we spent the next 12 hours checking out their town, drinking beers, went to like an abandoned post office, played pool, played music, grilled, like slept in the camper in the yard, and then just left a thank you note and left in the morning.
Yeah.
That was the whole, and it was, at 18, that's something that hadn't happened to me here in
And
in
it never
Vernon.
would in Vernon.
No. And that's why, when I got home and as I've talked to people these past couple of years, I'm just like, you just got to go.
Yes.
You got to find a way. And
yes.
anyone that's done it just knows that it does change you.
Yes.
And I'm just, I guess, Fran, I'm just out there visiting family I haven't met yet.
That's it.
And some of them are really nice.
Yes.
And some of them are family you don't want to
Yeah.
see again.
I mean,
right.
yeah. There's a lot of a lot of good. You know what's crazy is like there's a lot of good people,
Yes.
but there's a lot of bad, and
Yeah.
it's a
This
famous
is
saying: "Let the good outweigh the bad."
yeah.
But,
This is a
man,
question for both of you in all your travels. Do you have any memorable moments with a local, like just a simple interaction? It doesn't have to be spend a day, but anything where like you still kind of think of that person all these years later. And I know I'm kind of putting you both on the spot, but
Well, I'm going to, I just have to talk a little bit about my friends that live just outside London. Except that they are passing now. They're almost all gone.
oh boy. Oh, wow.
But we met them on a cruise a long time ago, on a Norwegian cruise. And we happened to be at the same table for dinner every night. And we started to talk about our lives and realize we had so much in common. And so we stayed in touch for many, many years, for 20 years. And their children, and the next time Dan and I flew into London, one of their children met us there, took a train in just because they wanted to meet us.
Wow.
So it was really like finding your family. And that's why I'm telling you, it's like if we can get everyone to start to think about the things we share and the fact that we are on one planet, one spaceship, we are one family. And just because we think differently and just because we have different cultures, it doesn't mean that we have to not like each other. And so when you find somebody like you ran into some people that really are probably mentally challenged in some way, and their lives have been disturbing, but you don't stay with them long. You might just be kind and say hello,
Just passing through.
and passing through. That's right. And there are going to be those people. They're everywhere.
Do you remember telling me, I forget when it was, but you said no one was a stranger to Dan Bolts.
That's true.
How was it? I wish everyone listening right now could have met Dan. And if you did, then just how he was as a person and how lucky you were to know him. But what was it like being his sidekick all those years and just watching him meet people? I mean,
it was fabulous. And I have to tell you, one morning we were selling fabric in Pennsylvania, where there are a lot of quilters. And we were on our way home, actually, and we had gotten up very early, and we found a really interesting-looking little restaurant. And so we pulled in there. We saw a lot of trucks and you always look and see if there's anybody else there. Mm-hmm. Then you know it's a good restaurant. So we walk in, and we are quickly seated. There were the two of us, but there were a lot of people there. Suddenly we realized that they were almost all hunters. They had probably gotten up very early to go out and hunt, and they were stopping for breakfast too. All right, well, Dan is wearing wild and crazy pants, really wild and crazy.
Yeah, I think we need to describe the pants too, because it's like, if you've seen him, you get it. It's like, they're almost like pajama pants that are like, the fabric is so exotic. I've seen pants with all oranges.
Like chef,
that's my favorite
like
one.
chef pants, sort of.
Yeah.
They can be, he would have flowers on them. He would have fruits on them.
He's a big guy, too.
Yeah,
he's 6'6"?
6'6". Right, and he's really big and big shoulders. Yeah. and always with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
All right, so we order our breakfast, and these guys that are sitting around, we suddenly realize they are watching us.
And they're all in camo.
And they are
Covered in
all
camo
in
and
camo,
blood.
and
Yeah.
they've got their hats on backwards, and they are watching us, and they're talking about us. Okay, we get up to leave. Nobody has left. They're just watching us. And so we get up to pay our bill, and we walk over there, and they start getting up, and they're lined up behind us. And I thought, in my mind, I thought, oh my gosh, wait till we get outside.
Mhm.
Are they going to say something to us? You know, something not nice?
Yeah.
You know, Dan turns around, puts out his hand and says, "Good morning. How was hunting? Tell me what you got." You know, and he just was so friendly. They just couldn't believe that this guy was interested in them. And he's just started talking to them. He said, "Where do you live?" You know, and then all of a sudden he's talking about the fabric world and the little shops and does your wife sew? And it was absolutely amazing. These guys started laughing and they all came up and met him. And he started telling them about the pants and that we have a children's book called Dan's Pants,
Yeah.
The Adventures of Dan the Fabric Man.
Yeah.
Well, then they were really excited.
And these are all grown men, right?
And they're all grown men. They're all grown men. And they had been looking at us like we were the craziest people they had ever seen.
Almost like meeting Santa Claus.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It was
Like the
that.
magic.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the presents like that was just
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes we loved to go into the city and we enjoyed musicals. And we would always go in early so that we could just walk around New York. And I loved to walk just a little bit behind him to watch the people look at him and turn around.
If you're turning heads in New York City, you got to have
Yeah.
something going on.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful because sometimes people would say, "Oh, I know, it's Dan's Pants. It's Dan's Pants." And they would
Mhm.
run up and they'd say, "I read your book." And then they would shake hands with him. And he was a celebrity. And that's the way it was. But he was a sweet celebrity.
Yeah.
And he always loved to pose for pictures with people. You know, and there'll never be anyone else like him.
No, not at all. He was just out in the world meeting all his friends he hadn't met yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And he loved to travel. And everywhere we went on these cruises in the evenings, depending on what country you were in, like I still remember when we were in Holland and in come the dancers in their wooden shoes. Okay, so they have their music and their yes, kind of like clogging.
I was thinking clog.
Yeah,
That's
like
the right word.
You can
Okay.
you can hear
Yeah.
those wooden shoes, and so then they offer for someone to come up and dance with them. Well, who do you guess just jumped right up?
Yeah.
And he just went right up there, and he danced with them. He folk dancing, so he got to dance with, and they all were all around him, just loving the fact that he did that. But see, he always said, "Don't stand and watch the parade. Get in it.
Ooh.
Be part of it."
That's a good line.
I like
You
that.
know who's good at getting in parades? This guy.
Justin.
Justin.
Wait, what?
Justin-
Hold the phone.
Justin is. No one's a stranger to this guy. He's got
Yeah.
the gift for gab.
I tend to swoon some people over. I mean, I don't know, like I go out and overall I have fun. And what are you using as an example? Because I mean, I've gone out and not had fun. I go to certain places, I'm like, I don't want to be here. And I make it known that I'm not having a good time and I'm out.
Yeah. So one time I met up with Justin, and he was with some new friends of his that he hadn't known for very long.
You can say that. Well, I'm just gonna
Well,
gonna beep.
yeah.
It's gonna beep.
So we were with Blank, and we were.
No, seriously, who? I don't know.
It's when you had just started seeing,
Okay.
and you were out in Warwick with her friends. I can't wait to hear it beeped out.
Okay. Yeah.
We just
got
gotta start beeping things. Like
Yeah.
we gotta make Fran just.
like I'm gonna do to you so, and I'm just gonna beep everything out.
Yeah.
Right. That comes off like.
Yeah, so that's gonna be great stuff. So I'm meeting these people,
Yep.
you know, for the first time, and I'm just like, oh, you guys met Justin, you know, how lucky are you? And they're just like, you know, we thought he would kind of just be quiet and, you know, kind of keep to himself. This guy won't stop talking.
Okay.
And they all, I say that jokingly, they all really appreciated that.
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
you know, I'm not always the most talkative when I meet someone for the first time. Usually I got to get going a little bit. The beers tend to help.
Yeah.
But
Do you have any more?
yeah, in the bag.
The bag. We're gonna get the bag.
Oh, the bag's behind you on the
bag.
chair. Yeah. Yeah. But Justin, he makes himself comfortable quick, and people enjoy him.
Yes.
He's not here to defend himself or promote himself. Salute.
No, I think, I mean, part of it is too, like, I mean, for a while, I used to be, I would say sometimes like obnoxious where like, I wouldn't even like I would always have to like be the first to talk and the last to talk.
People
So,
are going to clip that and just.
yeah, I know. And it's true. And I feel like it was like a part of who I am. But like now I'm still outgoing, but I'm a little more reserved. And for me, I'm like, I like being I like listening, sitting back, doing my own thing. And I like, thinking before I talk. So
Yes.
it's been good.
What time are we hitting at right now?
We're about like 45 maybe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I think we could save the rest of the travel talk
Yes.
because there's plenty of it. Just
It's
like
Friday.
it's a great big world. Yeah. Justin's getting into another one. When I asked that Fran mail question, it was last week.
Yes.
It was actually a 2-part question.
Yes.
First was times you felt like you had failed.
Yes.
And the second part, which wasn't necessary to talk then, but we'll get to it now. Was there ever a time where you felt like you were, quote unquote, thrown into the fire and you succeeded? I know I'm putting you on the spot and you got to, run through all these memories. It could have been a teaching assignment. It could have been something maybe even with your family, but something where you weren't expected to be challenged. You were, and you succeeded. Justin, if you got anything where
yeah, I mean, I know right off. I mean, you want to chime in or?
Well, let Fran think.
No,
Fran,
you know what? This is one I would really like to think about because as I've been reviewing my life, and it's been a long one, I've been reviewing all of the wonderful things that have happened in my life. So I haven't been looking at those kind of like the crossroads, difficult things when you're in the firing line. Yeah. So I will do that. And then when we meet again, I will tell you what I discovered.
Awesome. Justin, you got a time where?
Yeah, I mean, it was the last job I had. It was a position that, I mean, truth be told, I wasn't ready for. And I knew, I mean, I still work with them. It was definitely something where I wanted it because financially and status, and I got it, and it started working out. I was figuring things out. I was going above and beyond, but it was just so grueling. Yes. It was like absorbing all like my life, my weekend. So I stuck it out for a little while and ended up getting out of there. But that was something where like people still talk highly of me. And like every time I'm in the office, like they're always pumped to see me, and that feels good, for me. I feel like I left a good footprint, and that's wherever I go, like, wherever you are, you leave a footprint. I hope to leave something where people look back on. It's like, all right, I like that guy, or like just something that they can take away from it. And I've had, good, I've had, and it was weird. I had someone come up to me and like tell me like. I was giving them kind of a hard time because I was their boss, and he pulled me. He's like, "Can I talk to you in private?" And he was telling me he was going through a divorce. I'm like, "I have no idea." Like, let me know this stuff. And and I was like, "Go home." I'm like, "You want to go home? Get out of here. Like, chill out." So like, I'd have people come to me with like, personal problems too, and I felt like I was like, "All right, like, well, how do you handle it too?" And like, people took certain things like, too emotionally. Where like, when I had to be a boss, they would blow up, and then it was just such all the personalities. I'm like that, like managing people. That was the first job I had to do it where I had a team under me, and that was something that was extremely hard. But I think I could do it. But it was just that position, just that company. I'll say was
that the biggest learning experience
for me?
Of the whole thing was 100%. Managing people and personalities.
100%. For me, it was people and personalities. I don't care. I'll stare at a computer all day. That's easy. That's
easy.
People, when it comes to taking, like, I would say majority of my work was just monitoring them, but also I had to approve. I had to go through all the financial. I had to do all that aspect of it. But like, there was only so many hours in the day, so I would go and I would call Kevin at 3:00. I'd be in there since 8.
The most stressful Apple break.
And I'm on my Apple break because like I used to smoke cigarettes and I'm on like 3 years without smoking, which is awesome. But what I do is I step outside and I just power eat an apple. I'm just like pissed off eating an apple. So I call him and we do I'm on my Apple break. I got 5 minutes.
Crunch.
So and then I got to a point too. I would go to the bar every day. So I would leave. Like if I didn't leave the office, there was no way I could take a break because my phone was blowing up. I would leave for an hour and I'd come back with over 100 emails.
Boy, that's
and
tough.
of those emails, maybe let's say 65 I had to look at, but that's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
And
what looking back on that, what do you think was the most rewarding out of it all?
I think it was the fact that I did it, that I stepped in and I went up, like I could have, I mean, I remember my COO came up to me, he's like, dude, I thought you were going to quit sooner than this. And like, it was a job with high turnover.
Yes.
So he's like, I thought you were going to quit sooner. And I'm friends, I'm good with, I'm cordial with everyone. I still do a lot of work with them. They still make a lot of money with them. So if they're listening, I love you guys.
Yeah.
But it got to a point too, like I said, if I didn't leave, I wouldn't get a break. So I would go to the bar.
Yes.
And I became a regular at this one bar. And I'd pound back a few beers and just, eat lunch. And I got to a point, I'm like, what am I doing? And then but I always like going back to the office after a couple because I felt a little looser.
Right.
I would they could probably tell that I was a little tuned up and I would approve orders that maybe I shouldn't have been approving, but I would move.
You might want to beep that out.
Yeah, it's fine. No, they knew. I mean,
well, isn't that a great lesson in that, Fran? Is
there's
that you don't have to do something for a super extended long time.
That's right.
But just Justin, his biggest reward out of that was just the fact that he did it.
And he grew. He really grew.
And like in any position I go, I don't care. Like I've worked with like that, like they were very good to me. I've worked with other companies where they screwed me over. I've gotten burnt and I never leave, like never up and out.
Yeah.
I'll give you more than 2-week notice, but I'm going to create, I'm going to set you guys up for success. I'll help train the next guy coming in.
Yes.
And that's what I essentially did with another company. So that is for me, it's like my reputation too, where I still work with all the companies that I've left. I still work with those except one.
Right.
But there's, the 2 main ones I still do a lot of business with.
I think it's important that people realize that you can be in a tough place like that, but there are always choices.
Mm-hmm.
And so you made the choice that you're not going to keep doing that. You didn't like it. I mean, you were able to do it, but you had no personal time. You can't live your life without having personal time.
And what's crazy is like so much stress, like everybody who's in a job that like stresses them out, so much stress comes back to you because you're responsible for so much, right?
That's right.
Everyone's responsible for so much.
Yes.
But guess what? The day you leave, it's not your problem. And someone else will take that on, and that's now them.
That's
right.
right.
And it's like it never happened. So once I got that understanding, like, oh, I am just a body. Like essentially, I am a brain, I'm a mind who can do this. But there's always someone else who can do it. They might not do it to your ability. They might do it, better in some areas, weaker in others. But there's always somebody to replace you. As shitty as that sounds, that's the reality of it.
That's right.
So don't let the work wear you out. I'd rather not
No.
All right. We don't. Yeah, we don't. Okay. We'll cap it here because we know Justin is able to talk about his work life. Fran, you got any closing statements before we shut it down here?
I would just like to say that we are living in a time when some people are having a difficult time meeting even their grocery bills. Everything has gone up, and the money that people are spending on gas, that's making such a difference. So don't hesitate that when you're shopping with your parents, if that's who's listening, or you parents or grandparents, pick up an extra something. If they say buy 2, you get a break. And there are local food banks who really need something. And remember, we're the army of good. It can be a very little thing that you give, but if everybody gives a little, then there will be food for those families who really need it and who are going there so that they can eat next week.
That's so we had write the letter.
Yes.
As for joining the Army of Good. I hope people out there have written a heartfelt letter to someone that means a lot to them.
Yes.
And now we have donate to a local food bank.
Yes, please.
That is great, Fran. I really like that.
And have a really good week, and we'll be back next week.
That's right. So, Justin, any closing statements before we?
I'm good.
You're
That's
good.
that's my closing
We're
All
statement.
right.
good.
So
Everybody good.
yeah, everyone listening, if you want to chime in with us, you can email us at twithfranmail@gmail.com. We are on Instagram, Tea with Fran Podcast, and we're on YouTube also. We're getting some subscribers there, which is exciting. We're getting some views, so that's also Tea with Fran Podcast. And yeah, I think we're good.
We're good.
All right.
Until next time.
Yeah,
Good night.
everyone be good.
Bye.